Ajaja. I am the convener of Open Nigeria and Africa Unite and the anchor of Nigeria Now at ONN and the Nightingale Radio International. How are you all doing? Yes, the world is in turmoil and a solution is urgently needed. Yes, the Arab-Israeli crisis has lingered on for generations. Yes, and why is it intractable? Why is it that it cannot be solved? Yes, there's a missing piece of the puzzle to a solution. And that missing puzzle is the disrespect. Yes, the disrespect for the black man, the disrespect for the African with a clean mind that has knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of complex issues. You have sidelined us for a very long time. That is why the world is in crisis. We have been abused. We have been exploited. We have been neglected. Yes, that is why the world is in turmoil. And until the world decides to return to the path of honor and justice and respect for the black man, its problem will continue to get worse. This is the moment to speak. You have failed those who believe that they own the world. Yes, you have failed to provide a solution to a problem as simple as getting these two brothers. Yes, the Arabs and the Israelis are brothers. Getting them to sit together at a negotiation table and get the job done. But because you have chosen the path of partisanship, you have chosen the path of disrespect, you have chosen the path of injustice, you are unable, you can't solve it because you do not have any moral platform to stand on to solve it. Yes, I'm talking to Imperial Europe, I'm talking to the Arab League, I'm talking to the rest of the world. Your disrespect for the black man is the reason the world is in turmoil. Yes, it's provable. The black man went through slavery, went through colonialism, he went through imperialism, and he went through apartheid, and now he's going through globalization, all created and authored by you. Yes, to his disadvantage and to his detriment and the detriment of his generations. You must come with the hands of justice. Now, involve the black man in the search for solution to this problem, this nagging problem, this problem that can easily be solved. The black man is the first. Yes, he's the origin of creation, but you put him in a cup and expect that you will have your way through solving global issues. How can you, with your partisan fingers, you who have exploited the whole world, especially Africa, how can you be the one talking about democracy, global peace and justice? Yes, without involving him and expect that you are going to succeed. No, you cannot. The world is where it is right now because of the disrespect for the black people. How? You cannot solve this problem without speaking the truth. You cannot solve this problem with double standard. You must solve it with the purity of truth and heart. But that is what you have lacked. You cannot police the whole world and expect a solution. This is undemocratic. And you talk about democracy everywhere on earth, but you fail to democratize the United Nations. You fail to democratize the United Nations Permanent Security Council. Only 5 of you, yes, only 5 of you, mostly from Europe, are the ones dictating to the world. And you expect to get their cooperation. It's impossible. So we need a neutral party to solve this problem. And that neutral party is a black man. Yes, the black man who has liberated himself from mental slavery. We have a lot of them who can weigh in and get this problem solved. And these people at war with one another will listen to him. You have failed to solve the problem. The Arabs have failed to solve the problem because they are not honest. The Europeans, far worse, have not been able to solve the problem. All they are about is economics. All they are about is to control the whole world. All they are about is using military might to repress, oppress, and destroy the world. You have failed, and you must own up to your failure. The world, God did not make the world to be a disastrous place. God said this world is supposed to be a heaven. And he gave us all the tools to build the heavens. Yes, for the whole of the world. But what did you do? You took every raw material. You took all the mineral resources. You are building your heavens in your own places. Neglecting the place, yes, Africa, where you took all the raw materials, where you made the people cheap labor to advance the cause of your own countries and expect peace. You cannot expect peace from the proceed of injustice. The world must now come to terms to its failing, especially the Imperial Europe and the Arabs. Yes, the two groups who came to Africa, clutching the Bible and the Quran, turning us, the people of Africa, into schizophrenics in their own country, turn them into strangers in their own country, debase them and remove their personality from them, remove who they are. You created a mental platform for them to be slaves and eternally subservient to your whims and caprices. Look at where the world is now. The world needs peace. And the only man who can bring about peace on earth is the black man. He has been the one who has never been given the opportunity to try because you have no respect for him. You think he's a caveman. You think he's a man from the dark continent. The dark continent that feeds the whole world. The continent that you came and balkanized. You went and had a conference, Berlin conference here in 1884, 1885, to balkanize a continent that you know nothing about, to balkanize and fracture a people and their advancement. And then you call them poor, you call them retarded, you call them people who cannot make decisions for themselves. You have made so many decisions for us. Where are we now? Our countries in Africa are all struggling, regardless of the massive natural and mineral resources in their place. There are 1.5 billion people live below poverty line, and you live in criminal opulence from exploiting their resources. And then when they come to your countries, you drive them away. You call them illegal aliens. Yes, you call them shithole countries. Yeah, you call them black, dark people. You call them people who are ignorant. Who brought ignorance? You fractured their civilization and made them copycats. Copycats can never be original cats. Europe, Imperial Europe, and the Arab world. It's time for you to apologize for your sins against Africa. They are numerous. Colonialism, slavery, imperialism, apartheid, and now globalization that you have taken as your certificate of occupancy. Yes, to take over Africa by all means necessary. I was listening to that little boy, they call him Macron, president of France, speaking about what is taking place in Gaza, what Israel is doing, that they have allowed it to happen for too long. Now action is needed. Okay, but you are not talking about what you did, what you are doing, what France did in Africa. Yes, since for over 60 years, France has been stealing from Africa, just like Britain has been stealing from other parts of Africa. Yes, all your colonies are enslaved people. All your colonies have no right to operate their own reserve banks. Yes, they take their reserve banks. You make your reserve bank. Yeah, you lend them their own money at high interest rates. Oh France, good France. So now you want justice, right? You want justice? When you are not giving Africa justice, little France, little Britain, you now want justice? How are you going to come to justice without a clean hands? Your hands are not clean. You must atone for your sins. Israel, the Jews were paid reparation for above, they say 6 million Jews were murdered in Nazi Germany. Sad, terrible. Yes, sad, terrible. The worst crime against humanity. But you, France, you Imperial Europe, for 400 years, you were stealing Africans. You bought and sold Africans for 400 years. You brought them on their backs. They built Britain. On their backs, they built the United States. On their backs, they built France. On their backs, they built Spain. On their backs, they built Portugal. On their backs, they built the whole of Western Europe. And nobody, none of you who talk about democracy has seen any reason till this day to move a motion for reparation for Africa and the African people. Yes, so our lives do not matter. And you are even getting worse. Look at what you have turned Africa into. Who are you, Imperial Europe, to open your mouth to want to talk about justice in Gaza? You don't have any platform, any moral ground to stand on to advance a cause for justice. The only person who can do it is the person who has been forgiven every sin against his people, the black man. What about the Arabs? For 700 years, the Arabs, yes, for 700 years, the Arabs enslaved Africans. Yes, 700 years, you enslaved Africans. You castrated all male Africans that you enslaved. Who are you to want to talk about? You have no right to fight for anybody's justice. I feel bad for the Palestinians who have been subjects of wanton destruction. But these two groups, Europe and the Arab world, have no ground to stand to talk about peace and justice. Anytime they talk about, they don't mean it. Over how many million black people were tossed in the Atlantic? I'm talking about millions of black people were tossed into the Atlantic. How many black people died in chains marching through the Sahara Desert to the Arab world? Are the black people in the Arab world still better treated today? No. Are the Africans in Europe, are they better treated today? No. They are being hounded everywhere. What about us, some of us here in the United States? The black man is still struggling to find his bearing. Europe, Imperial Europe, you are unfair, you are wicked. Why not, for once, looking at the way the world is heading now, where the crisis that is before us, why can't you atone for your sins? Why can't you seek for true global understanding to end the crisis around the world? Why can't Africa benefit from its abundant mineral and natural resources? Why should millions of Africans, yes, young people, be so hopeless, but yours are progressing and advancing off of raw materials, off of mineral resources, off of natural resources that your corporations come to Africa to steal and loot for the benefit of your widely growing economies. Are there any more humane people on earth? Are there people who are conscientious anymore in leadership across the world, especially in Europe and the Arab world? Why should the black man be so relegated, so disrespected, and so exploited? He's the only man. He's the key to the solution of the crisis in Gaza. He's the only one who has a forgiven spirit. He is the first man, yes, that had the first contact. Yes, the first man that was created is the black man. He was endowed with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But he was upstaged for his own failing. But now is the time for the black man to get back to his moral pathway, so the world will be in peace. You have failed. Europe, you have failed. Woefully, you have failed. The Arabs, you have failed woefully. Your leadership for centuries have been unfair, unjust, and exploitative of the African people. You found a tool in the Quran to repress the people of Africa. You lie to them about God that you do not. Why should a black man see God from the prism of an Arab or a European? Something is not adding up. And this is what must stop now. Respect the Rastaman, respect the African, and the world will be at peace. That is what we paid the price for everything. We have paid the price. It's time. You black man, your countries are all in tatters because you are operating as schizophrenics, black leaders. The best never lead Africa. That is why. The best lead Europe. The best lead the Arab world. But when it comes to Africa, they want to give us the worst so that they will continue to exploit us. African people, ordinary African people, this is your call right now to stand up. Wherever you are, stand up. Stop allowing Imperial Europe and Arabs to decide your destiny. Your destiny is for you. Bob Marley said it. Every man has got the right to decide his own destiny. Because in the judgment, there will be no partiality. Yes. So arm in arms. Let's come together and fight our little trouble. Yes. Because that's the only way we can forge ahead. The Arabs have it organized. They have a tool to hold the world captive. Imperial Europe is very organized. But the only people who are disorganized are the black people, the Africans. And you have the solution to all global problems. You have the resources at your disposal. Why is it that you are not able to put the best forward as your leaders? Yes, this is the greatest problem. As long as we continue to allow external forces to decide for us, we will not get anywhere, and the world will continue to disrespect us. What they want now is more confusion, and that is why all African leaders must be very careful at this moment to not allow them to be themselves to be sucked into this crazy war that they are brewing. Let them fight it by themselves. Let them not come anywhere near us. We must not give them the chance to come and use us like they used us in their First and Second World War. They call World War, that we have nothing to do with. Yes, they have not respected us. They don't believe that we are human beings. They treat us less than animals. Look at the continent with the richest continent on earth. Their people are scattered all over the world, begging. on their knees. While they have all that runs the world, something is not right. And that thing must be fixed. And the only people who can fix it is the African people. If we don't do it, nobody will respect us. And the world will continue to suffer. Yes, from this craziness. Yes, it is time for the African Renaissance. It is time for the African Renaissance. We must forgive ourselves for what we did in the past that brought us to Odeon. It is time, African young people, listen to me. African young people, listen to me. We need our best. We need the best of our revolutionaries to take charge. And this is why you must do everything you can to protect Ibrahim Traore, protect the young revolutionaries that are coming up as leaders in Africa. They want to kill them, so that business will continue as usual. But we have a duty to protect them everywhere, and then to create more revolutionaries in all countries across Africa, so we can come together in line with the visions of our founding fathers to build a United States of Africa where there will be no more borders, and Africa driven by one machine, an Africa that will be driven in one vehicle, an Africa that will have one economy, an Africa that will have one currency like they have it in Europe, an Africa that will have one military, and an Africa that will have one reserve bank, an Africa where there will be no more crisis, and an Africa that will have the best conflict resolution mechanism. Yes, if we had a united Africa, there will be no Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram is a foreign mercenary group. Yes, though driven fight, but the foot soldiers. Sadly, the foot soldiers are Africans, but the guns they are using is not Africa. The bombs they are dropping, not made by Africa. The mortar that they clutch is not Africa. The grenade that they are throwing everywhere to kill innocent and defenseless Africans are not made in Africa. Yes, they put religion behind it. It's not about religion, it is economics. But they harp on the ignorance of the people, especially the people in the north of Nigeria. Yes, they harp on their ignorance to tell them that it's about Islam, that they are defending Allah. Allah does not fight. Allah is a man of peace. Allah does not destroy what he created. Allah does not support hate. Allah does not support injustice. But sadly, that is the situation we find ourselves. That is why they have a set of mercenaries across Africa, across Nigeria, in all Nigeria's forests and farmlands. Yes, that is why there's so much insecurity. It's a ground being prepared for the final takeover, not colonization, final occupation and takeover of Africa. We must not allow it happen in our time. These people, their ancestors enslaved our ancestors. We must not continue to allow their generation to continue to do worse than their ancestors did. Now is the time. When we have our Africa together, we'll be ready to share with the world. Yes, because, we are welcoming. That was what they took advantage of. We'll still be ready to share with the world. But this time as true owners of Africa and not as subservient slaves of imperial forces. Now is the time. And again, I say this with all amount of convictions, that the only man who can solve the Arab-Israeli crisis will be the black man. But sadly, they are ignoring the black man. Yes, you continue to ignore the black man, the problem will escalate. You have failed. The Arabs have failed. The Europeans have failed because they are partisan. Yes, they are not interested in solving the problem. They are interested in controlling the world. and controlling the world's resources. They can't solve the problem. They have failed woefully. Give an African a chance to resolve this crisis, and the crisis will be resolved with a permanence, because he is the original man. Yes, the people fighting are offshoot of him. He was the substrate. Give the African man the chance to solve the problem, and I tell you, the problem will be solved. But if you don't, the problem will continue, which is what some people want in order to keep the world in a dysfunctional state. This is not good for the future generation. God bless the world. God bless Africa. And I hope my message will get to some people who will start thinking. 1, democratize the United Nations, so that when they speak, their actions will be binding. When they issue warrant of arrest, it will be carried out. Yes. And then no man will have the power to veto what will bring peace, justice, and security to the world. Thank you for listening. And please do share this message and come back again, as always, to listen to what we are going to be bringing up as we search for a permanent solution to all of the Earth's crisis. Bye for now.